So this case is an interesting case. At first glance, it doesn't look all that exciting, but this is the London Dome, and these were developed in the 1800s, and it was basically named based on the St. Paul's Cathedral in London. It had a very similar appearance to the cathedral itself. And so what they've done here is it's a fairly interesting concept, similar to the folding or the bugle-shaped ear trumpets that were shown earlier. And what's happening here is you have a compact brass device that has a nice aperture, but instead of having a long tube that has to pass through, you have a more compact appearance. And the folding mechanism or the folding characteristic is occurring within the dome. So it's very similar to a folding or a bugle-shaped trumpet. And so there's several different styles, japanned, silver, and brass, copper. Then there's also very subtle differences in the external appearance. So this is a beehive London Dome. So the same thing is going on here, where you've got the turn of the ear trumpet is going into here, and then it comes back and it picks up sound. So instead of having a long trumpet, you have a shorter one, but with basically the same length on the inside. The swan-shaped dome, same thing, same concept internally, but just a different style externally. And all of them, as you can tell, are compact up front here. This is a bakelite London Dome, small, but they go all the way to larger sizes here. And then in the back, much larger devices, but this is really a good way to see what's going on the inside here. And these are probably used for people that are in larger spaces or much more hearing loss than other individuals that probably could get by with a smaller device.
Another design that became popular the last half of the 19th century is the banjo hearing ear trumpets. And they came again in different shapes and material. Here is an example. One of the earliest ones is the metal banjo. So what it is, this plate-like shape will collect the sound, and it drives it through the shaft here. They came also in plastic or bakelite. This is another example. It's very light, and you can turn it around. And there are different bakelite material here. They try to make it fancier. And they are brass banjo ear trumpets. This is the maker here. Again, it's made in London, where they made most of these ear trumpets. And again, they come in different sizes. This is more, I feel, that's for child size, or somebody who doesn't want to carry a big banjo. There's a design here, they called it Miss Green hearing banjo. I showed this before, but that's what the name is, Miss Green. Why? Apparently she's the one that made some modifications and called it by her name. Another one, a little bit fancier, that has the grill here, and it has the maker's name, and again, it's British, made in London.
So we're back in the Medical Museum looking at some more ear trumpets, and in this cabinet we have a few different varieties. This first row here are the lorgnettes, and this one in particular is an interesting one because they've modified these so that you can have a pair of spectacles, and not all of them have that, but you can see the nice pretty finish that they've made this with. And the other ones are very similar without the spectacles. A slightly different style, as you can tell, a little bit more probably simple, is this style here. Again, essentially doing the same thing, gathering sound and driving it to the ear. This row over here, the Miss Martino's trumpet. This is interesting. This was named after a lady, Harriet Martineau, who was a British sociologist in the 1800s, who was a prolific writer, author, and at a young age she started to lose her hearing. And so this series of ear trumpets was named after her. So in this case, we have really an array of trumpets that come with made or lined in different materials, and it really shows you how inventive people were back in the past. This is a metallic, probably a brass trumpet, but it's covered in leather. So there's a couple examples of that, where you've got nice, sort of shiny, very tightly adherent leather to the trumpet. This example here, you can see it's worn, but you have the black paint or the japanned metal cone. And so these are a couple of nice examples of that. But over the years, it's not likely that the paint stays on there. And so you can tell these haven't been modified or rehabbed. Over here we have a bamboo. It's a very unique piece, probably the only one in the museum like it. Nice, long, slender, classy looking bamboo trumpet. So this next trumpet is a really unique piece. It's quite heavy, but really exotic. It's made out of ivory. And so it's got what appears to be some silver around the tip here, and very, very beautiful piece. And then finally, some of these telescoping trumpets, vulcanite, or like a hard rubberized material, and telescopes into a nice compact piece. And similarly, we see that with this piece as well. And then there's a wood one that's identical as far as a telescoping trumpet.
Another group of ear trumpets are the larger ones that they look like more like a funnel shape. And these came around the same time as the earlier London Dome ear trumpets. So an example, this really looks like a trumpet, but it is more for hearing. And they come straight, or they come with a curve and the earpiece here. So this way, when you put it in the ear, in fact, I can hear the magnification of the sound. The sound can be driven from the side. There are some variations of this style. For instance, there is the banjo type of ear trumpet. You can see that curve. Does it do anything for amplification? I don't think so, but it looks different. There's another more complicated banjo ear trumpet, which is a real banjo type of device. The size of the funnel shape here is different. This is a narrow one, and there are some wider ones, which this was a very popular and common type of ear trumpet. We've seen the banjo ear trumpet. This is called the bugle ear trumpet. And what it has this, they call it also the folded ear trumpet. So you can see how, like as if you have a straight one and you fold it here. Again, it doesn't make any difference as far as amplification, it's just for the look. And this is made by Arnold and Sons in London. Again, this goes back to around 1860, 1870. And there are different kinds of the banjo. There's one that is shinier, and it's made of copper here. And there's one variation. It's the Bonafont. Bonafont was a famous French otologist, and he apparently designed a folded ear trumpet. It's slightly different. Instead of the earpiece bending in this direction, they had it sideways, and I think the reason you will have more of a front reception of the sound. Another variation is again the folded ear trumpet, which is very similar to Benefont. And they come in different sizes. This is possibly a children type of folded ear trumpet. I like this one here. This is a fancier one. It's made of brass. It has the maker here. Again, it's London. And in the late 19th century, London was a major center for manufacturing ear trumpets. This is an older one, and the reason I'm saying that, it has an ivory earpiece here. The French started to get involved in manufacturing ear trumpets, and they were known for the sonor, S-O-N-O-R, ear trumpets. And they come in different shapes and material. This is, for instance, a bakelite ear trumpet, and what you do, you just flip it here, and you can use it inside the ear. This was an expensive one because I have a label here. It says $89.50, and that was a lot of money around the end of the 19th century. And you can see the grill. It's fancier, it's small, you can put it in your pocket while you are not using it. So it came in metal. For instance, this is a metal a sonor ear trumpet. Again, this is ivory here, and this is double sonor ear trumpet. So it has the two like a double ear trumpet, and this can be brought out or collapse, and you can move it in any direction. The earpiece here is metal, so that makes it easy. This is an interesting one. It's covered with leather. But again, it has also a nice earpiece. Here's another bakelite type of, it looks like mother of pearl. It's not actually mother of pearl, but it's trying to imitate it. It's around 1900. And again, here is a children size. If you compare this with this here, this is another variation with a dome here. I really don't know what difference it will make as far as amplification. Another one with a leather covered ear trumpet with a dome here. I think there's some curvature inside, and this was placed here to accommodate that.
Well, even in the 1800s, there was an attempt to try to miniaturize things and make things less obtrusive. And so this case displays a lot of the binaural auricles or trumpets that are held in place with a headband. And that way you could be hands-free, and very similar to modern day Bluetooth earpieces, but obviously the predecessor. This is just a synthetic mother of pearl material. You can see in the front row here, both rows actually, that there are different materials that have been used to make these binaural auricles. This is brass. We have the bakelite, some other plastic materials, metal with leather covering. But both rows really give you a good example of what was done to be a little bit more unobtrusive and more stylish over time.
Towards the late 19th century and early 20th century, the manufacturers and inventors tried to make these ear trumpets smaller, and for two reasons. Number one, they will be less obvious, and number two, they tried to make them sit on the ear so you can have free hands. One of the earliest ones are the ear tubes, and the ear tubes look like this. You put this end in the ear canal, and there is an opening here. And frankly, I don't think that they have done much in amplifying the sound. Then they came up with other things. For instance, Pulitzer. Pulitzer had a design that looks like this. And as you can see, this end goes in the ear canal, and you have this like a shell with this opening to collect the sound and direct it towards the ear. There are other types. Here's another one, and these are more, they call it the concha ear device. Again, this goes in the ear canal, and this will collect the sound, this cup-like, and direct it to the ear. There are different styles, very interesting. I mean, this style here, I don't think there's much difference between them, but it's more of the competition to create something new. This is the tragus fan. The tragus fan, the earpiece here, and the opening here. Like this here, this the ear canal piece here can be spread open, and just by doing that, I'm sure it can amplify the sound and help the hearing. Then there's another group of ear trumpets that are called the cornets, and what it is simply, it has the opening here to collect the sound and the earpiece here. However, these you still have to hold it against your ear. Then they came up with something that is easier, and this particular one, this cornet, it goes in the ear canal, and trying to, and it's hooked over the tragus, and that you can leave it alone, but it's not my size, so I'm just demonstrating it this way. This here is the most fascinating, and it's one of the earliest that somebody took the impression of the concha. And for instance, this one here is very light, it's made of silver, and you can put it there, it will be held just like any modern hearing aids, and it collects the sound through this opening. So this is the impression of the concha, the ear canal here. They came up with another way of freeing the hands is by putting the band over the head and get the benefit of it. These are called the Audiclair oral diaphragm. Another fascinating concept is this auricle, and this is the way it looks, and the ear goes, the concha goes through this here, like this here. So you put it in your ear, and you don't have to hold it. The other one is the quack ear device, and this definitely doesn't do anything, but they sold it that if you put it behind the ear, the magnetic field will bring the sound to the ear, and you amplify it, and then you have to place yourself towards the north to be more effective.
So we're in another case with larger examples of ear trumpets, and these two in my hand here are London domes on a cane. So you can tell they were starting to think about versatility of their devices, trying to make sure that if they needed assistance with a cane or walking stick, they could have also their ear trumpet attached to it.
Again, when you get older and I understand what it means, you're going to need something to help you with your hearing, and you need something to help you walking. So they put them together, and these are, again, another example of London dome. That's the brass, and that's the Japan London dome. There are some amazing examples of older pieces.
So this one is a really unique. I've never seen anything quite like this one
Never.
before. So you have an ivory hand holding a trumpet, and it looks really like just a piece of art if you don't see the cane stuck to it. But really fascinating, and just a wood cane.
And this is another example. It's the grill looks like the London Dome, but it's a thin area here, and you have ivory earpiece here. Same principle is an ear trumpet and a nice slim cane
It looks
here.
almost like a banjo, even. Banjo
That's
style.
right. Yes, yes. There are other fascinating, one-of-a-kind type of cane, Joe.
So this cane has a handle made of jade. So I'd assume this is somebody that was important or a very prominent person in their line of work. But there was no trumpet up top. The earpiece was up here, but the trumpet was down closer to the floor.
And I think, Joe, this is because this is where the sound will travel through, and I think that was for distant, but this is looking backwards. I was thinking that it can be passed from one person to the other, so the person can hear it directly here. But it's one of a kind. I've never seen any design like this. And the last thing we have here is another ear trumpet / cane, and this is the earpiece here, and this is where the sound is collected. So I think this is how it works. Again, these are unusual and one of a kind type of ear trumpets. This group of ear trumpets, I believe they are the earliest version of devices. This is a conch shell with, I believe that this is amber here with the earpiece. Then there's the ram horn, they call it the ram horn ear trumpet, which is actual animal horn that has been carved, and the earpiece is here. Another example of a horn that was used for ear trumpet. Then they became a little bit fancier. Again, they continue to use the horn, but they put some brass piece around the edge, and I think they put it so it won't fray or break. And that's the earpiece, but I think that earpiece is a new addition here. It looks too perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Another one here that has this band of silver. Again, it's an animal horn and ivory earpiece. This is more of a fancier small ear trumpets. Again, the flared area here is made of silver, and this is animal bone here. This is more fancier. You can see all this piece from here to here is silver, and that's the horn and the earpiece. The next generation were more of a crude type of ear trumpets. It's large, it has this grill here. There's nothing inside like what we saw in London Dome. It just collects the sound and directs it through this here. And it came in different shapes. This is another one. It's more of, I call it cheap type of material in comparison to this beautiful brass and copper ear trumpet. Around 1840, 1850, they developed what they call the jointed ear trumpet. And I think the reason they called it is you see like joints around the curvature here.
So in this set of trumpets, we have different styles. Some we've already seen, but some more elaborate detail on the design. And so this is more of a standard trumpet, but this was inscribed as a gift for someone in 1915. But it's a silver trumpet, and these two as well are silver, made of silver. So obviously a nicer material. We have some London domes here, much more detail in the engraving. And so you can see beautiful engraving throughout. So this is with a small ivory earpiece, and a couple of the smaller domes with very similar engraving to the large one I just showed. This one is a Sheffield trumpet, and this is nice and compact, but it telescopes out to a nice long tube, and it's quite nice in its telescoping abilities. And this is probably the fanciest London dome I've seen here. This was made in Paris. So there's some mother of pearl in there as well. Very, very pretty. And then not only are the materials and engraving more elaborate, but you see here slightly different shape to the dome itself.
It's like a cathedral dome.
Right.
This was,
And then some other pieces here.
I call this, Joe, the ear trumpet of a rich woman, because it's silver and has this beautiful thing here. I bet you these are one of a kind.
Oh yeah.
What you're showing.
Yeah, and then an all ivory small. I mean, these probably didn't do a whole lot. And then finally, a nice heavy glass device here. Not very practical. And then finally, some of these black cloth that are probably for wives in mourning, funeral homes, places like that.
It's not proper to have a shiny ear.
That's right.
That's right.
Then another one that just goes on a wristband. So they try to make these as versatile as they could over time, but I think sometimes the more unusual designs may have not been as practical as they thought they were going to be, and so we don't see too many of them.
Exactly. And it can be somebody just did it for himself or herself, just and like the other one with the leather band.
Yeah, leather wristband.
Just, another version of ear trumpets is what's called the conversation tubes. Conversation tubes are basically like any other ear trumpet, except that they have this design here. And the way it works, the hearing impaired person will put one end on the ear and then pass the other end around when they are with a group of people. So this is the basic, the run-of-the-mill so-called run-of-the-mill type of conversation tube. This is the same thing, except that they have this headband, so they can free one hand instead of using both hands. One more design that is, I always call it the rich person type of conversation tube. You can see it's ivory end here, ivory here, and beautiful etched silver end here, but it has the same function.
Yeah, there's other conversation tubes, and really the same concept, but slightly different sound collection.
Like the banjo,
like
right?
the banjo here.
Yeah.
Different materials. This box here is interesting because I would envision that that's probably something maybe that someone in a meeting would use, or they're teaching. Somebody's trying to gather a sound from multiple sources. It's certainly not very practical as far as mobility.
That's right. Though I see this here, apparently there was some kind of
Strap, maybe?
strap that they put it around the neck.
Yeah.
Who knows? This is fascinating to me, Joe. That's the first thing I noticed this here. First of all, it's ivory. I mean, all of these big pieces are ivory, but it has a switch here. So if the listener does not like what the other guy is saying, they just turn it off. So that you can turn it on and off. The ear trumpet era ended around the early part of the 20th century when the electricity was invented. And the earlier electric type of hearing aids are the carbon hearing aids. And there are a few samples I have here. This is one sample of a big box here with a battery located here. This shows a battery better here, and this was manufactured by Ardent hearing aid company. Big battery here, and that's the earpiece. Then they tried to miniaturize it some and came up with this kind of hearing aid, which has the battery housing here, and you can control the volume in here, and that's where you put it against the ear to hear. It came in different colors and shapes. This is the most common type, is what I showed you here, and this one here. This, by the way, is German, an early version of it. Another type that is similar to this one here with the volume, and that's what you put against the ear. Another version that they have it here. I don't understand why there are two of them, but has the battery here. Around the same time, the vacuum tube hearing aids were invented, and they look something like this. This is where you hang it against the wall, and the sound will be collected here and will be converted to electric current, and then when it goes to the ear, it will be converted again to sound. I believe that this is also one of the vacuum tube hearing aid. I brought this here because it's fascinating. When the modern type of batteries were invented, and you can see how big here, how many batteries go in this housing here, and the earpiece here. The transistor hearing aids again changed the whole game. The transistor hearing aid, it became smaller. These are the body hearing aids, and they came in various shapes and material. And this is the beginning of the modern era of hearing aids.